Morning and welcome to the breakfast meeting. I am Mordecai Mulisa and thank you so much for keeping your eyes on NBS. This time around, we're going to be discussing oil and mining. Many of you have heard in words and in conversations that Uganda is one of the countries that is rich in minerals. And on the other hand, could be a contradiction that these minerals have not been fully used. I want to let you know that minerals are primary drivers of industrialization. So it would be a very worrying statement to say that our minerals have not been fully used. And the question would be, of course, asking about how are we moving in as far as industrialization is concerned. This time around, we're going to be discussing the law and in relation to the minerals and how can the law how has it been used and how is it going to be used today and in the future, or has it been used? And with me in this wonderful morning, it is Vincent Kedi, the Assistant Commissioner Licensing from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, and then Gabriel Data, Assistant Commissioner Geology. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, and thanks for having us.
Yes, it is a very wonderful time having you this good morning. You know, from where I started with talking about how there's all that conversation that, we are rich in minerals, but on the other hand, not being fully used or utilized. We need to review something very important, like I said, the mining laws. You are onto this, the mining laws. I'll start with you, Kedi. The mining laws, and why do we need to review them, and why now?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mordecai. A lot of these legal and regulatory reforms in regard to the mining sector in Africa have been largely driven by the need for Africa to benefit from its natural resources. Africa has had a history of mining over time. Many countries in Africa have had a history of mining over a long time. But these minerals have not translated into benefits, the actual benefits for Africans. And so many of the African countries are changing their mining laws to ensure that the country benefits more from the minerals. And of course, as a country, as Uganda itself, we have had some challenges. For example, nearly half of the challenges we have in the mining sector were not addressed by the current Mining Act of 2003. Things like regulating mineral processing activities, issues like the need to regulate artisanal and small-scale mining effectively, the need to regulate earth scientists who are participating in the sector, the need to regulate what they call building minerals, such as sand, clay, stone, and so forth. The need to regulate also many of the aspects of mining, for example, mineral certification across the region for minerals such as tin, tungsten, and tantalite, and many other challenges. So these are the drivers for these reforms. Thank you.
Yes. Let me get to you, Data. The question is, how much detailed information does Uganda have on its minerals? Then I'll add something from when you answer that one.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mordecai. Once again, I'm Data Gabriel. Uganda has had a lot of geological information and mineral information. During 2004 to 2012, the government acquired some funding from World Bank and massively acquired geological information and mineral information. With us, we have geological maps at various scales. At 1 to 250 scale, we have 19 maps. At 1 to 100,000 scale, we have 74 maps. At 1 to 50,000 scale, we have 52 maps. That's the one which is very detailed. We also have mineral occurrences that have been produced. We have high-quality airborne geophysical surveys, which covers 80% of the country, leaving out Karamoja region because of the insecurity at that time. When this data was put together and given to the investors and whoever is interested in looking at our data, it generated a lot of interest. And companies came up and took a lot of interest and started evaluating some of these resources. It is on those resources that we have a more detailed information, including drilling. These include graphite, the gold in Busia, gold in Buhweju, gold in Mubende, It is only those ones where they are under development and evaluation that we have good geological data up to drilling stage.
Well, and you know, when you mention those minerals, one Ugandan would be interested to know in the short, medium, or long term, on which minerals would Uganda focus on with an intention of value addition to get maximum value?
Yeah, well, I think it is prudent to start with the low-hanging fruits. These are minerals that are readily available, that can be easily processed, that can be easily used in our industries to promote manufacturing sector. And they are mainly categorized as industrial minerals. Give examples of marble, kaolin, pozzolana, and a few others, phosphates. So you can see these ones are easy to produce, and it can create employment and also contribute to improvement of livelihood. Those are the low-hanging fruits, yeah.
Okay. Back to you, Kedi. There's been, of course, following up with the mining bill. I'm interested to know, at what stage is this? When is it being or getting into effect?
Yeah, thank you, Mordecai. For the mining bill, presently, we actually have the mining policy of 2018. So the first draft of the mining bill was actually ready last year, around April. And so we embarked on stakeholder consultations. We did regional consultations. We moved across the country. We were able to get views of stakeholders, close to 10 reports, bulk reports of views of stakeholders, which we have incorporated into the draft bill. So as we speak now, the bill is with the Ministry of Justice. We are drafting it. And we expect to actually present this bill to Cabinet this month or early next month. So by end of October, we should have a new mining and mineral bill, which will be ready for consideration by Parliament.
Well, back to you now, Data. Would you say Uganda is an attractive mining destination for investors that are interested in mining, investing in mining?
Yes, I think Uganda is pretty much a very attractive destination.
What are some of the initiatives to to be like an attraction to the investors?
We have to begin with, to establish that we have very good geological data. That one is a prerequisite for investors to really like your country. And then good laws. The mining laws must be predictable and must be stable. And that is what we are doing. The initiative is to review the mining laws and then come up with laws that can address all the issues that will lead to the development of the minerals. We also have an initiative of taking exploration to a detailed stage. Investors will not want to come and start from nowhere. Sure. So it is incumbent on the country to make sure that we de-risk exploration costs and package information when investors can come and pick it for development. We're also looking at setting up mining infrastructure, training centers, laboratories, roads to mining areas, advocating for provision of electricity and water to mining areas. All those ones will make Uganda attractive to mining as a mining destination.
Kedi, let's talk about the issue of passive speculator. How has the Directorate of Geological Survey been able to facilitate for it to be wiped out?
Thank you very much, Mordecai, for that wonderful question. When it comes to the issue of speculators, it is true we have quite a number of speculators, but you have also been reading rightly in the newspaper that some of these speculating companies' licenses have been cancelled. So one of the things that the sector has been able to do is, one, to make sure that we implement e-government initiatives. So we have an online mineral licensing system that reminds these mineral right holders of their obligations. For example, if you have a return to submit, if you have a payment to make, the system continuously reminds you. So if you fail, the system is able to monitor your non-compliance. So we are able to use that. And of course, to have a presence on the ground. We also are trying to enhance our presence on the ground by having more inspectors on the ground so that we're able to actually know what these companies are doing on the ground after we license them. So with that history of non-compliance from both the system, that is online, and inspectors on the ground, we are able to cancel these licenses. Last month, you saw in the print media, we had canceled some of these licenses. So steps are being made to ensure that speculation is curbed in the sector.
Let's talk about opportunities. In this, we are looking at businesses and employment for Ugandans to look forward in the short, medium, or long run. Every time you talk about mining sector or oil and mining, there is a perception by so many Ugandans that there could be minimal chances of them or opportunities of them getting businesses or employment.
Yeah, thanks, Mordecai. There are really great opportunities for employment and business in the mineral sector. And this has been recognized by the government, and the government has recognized that the mining sector has potential to really spur economic growth through employment, through revenue generation, and it is the people. You need to know that the people who are involved in mining, it's a very labor-intensive activity. So it needs strong men. So it is able to create employment for the people. And business-wise, Ugandans are already in mining. We give them location licenses. They are mining. They're able to sell, especially to companies that are already manufacturing. So there's that opportunity. We also have opportunity for supplies and provision of services to mining companies. Ugandans can be involved in those. The opportunities of they themselves getting trained and developing their skills, both in mining, mineral processing, and also business skills. So there is enormous opportunities in the trade and employment sector.
Let's try to look in the future, 5, 10 years. What would be the outlook of the mining sector in the 5, 10, 20 years from now?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mordecai. I think like you introduced in the beginning, indeed, mining is a primary growth sector. And mining should be, for every African country, should be a sector that is prioritized in the agenda. I am happy to note that the government of Uganda is now implementing a mineral-based industrialization agenda. So in the next 5 years, we shall have a mineral-led industrialization agenda. As we speak now, we have some industries in mining that are leading in this industrialization. For example, we have the Goodwill Ceramics, using our raw materials, locally sourced raw materials to make tiles. And that has had an impact of reducing tile prices by nearly half. We have gold refineries, 4 of them in the country, utilizing some of the materials sourced locally and also imported. We also have some industries like, for example, our local phosphate. Amid those challenges they have, the phosphate factory in Tororo, it will have an impact on this. It will be mineral-based industrialization in the country. So in the next 5 years, we also expect to see many of these mineral-led industries setting up. And you will appreciate that the mining sector indeed has the potential to spur economic transformation in this country.
And indeed it has, compared to what we've seen in other countries. I want to take you back to a question I asked, and that is about the mining bill. As we're getting out of here, someone is interested to know, what are these key things in the mining bill, if you could hint on a few?
Yeah, thank you very much. The mining bill has a few key tenets that are coming up. For example, one of them is, like I said before, that many African countries want to enhance their take of revenue, to optimize their revenue from mining, because they've had a history of not benefiting much. So many of the countries in Africa are interested in participating, sitting on the same table with these investors, because they're the owners of the mineral. If you sit on the table, you are able to get a fair share of the revenue. So that's one thing. So in the bill, Uganda is going to participate. So we shall have a national mining company taking up commercial participation on behalf of government. Secondly, we also would want to promote in-country value addition. So as opposed to a policy of exporting our minerals raw, we will be encouraging them to set up industry in the country so that all the economies of scale are harnessed. Number three, we also want to regulate our local people, the local artisans, to make sure that we have a progressive legal regime that allows them to progress from one stage to the next. So in the next 5 years, you'll see our local artisans progressing and making gains from this industry. Four, we would also look at regulating what they call or certifying minerals. There's some minerals which are called conflict minerals, like tin, tungsten, tantalite, and gold. So we need to implement what they call that certification mechanism, where we tag those minerals to the origin. And then number five, we would also want to see these practitioners in the mining industry regulated. So we'll have a registration board. It has been a challenge. We have had some people practicing and having some irregularities, so we want that also capped. And there are many other aspects that the bill brings in. For example, I would talk about the need to also streamline the EITI reporting processes, the transparency, the revenues from the sector, from oil and gas. You've been hearing about EITI. So this bill also brings some of those transparency initiatives. And it also makes Uganda now implement fully transparent licensing schemes, including online systems which are accessible to all Ugandans. There are many other positives, but those are a few I can mention.
Oh, wonderful. Mr. Data, you look like you have an itching question, or not actually a question, but a compliment on what he said. Anything as a compliment?
I really don't have, he has mentioned a number of them, but what I can say is that the law is coming into really bring in good management of the sector. We want to benefit from the minerals. We want the government to realize significant benefits from the mineral resources, from its own mineral resources. And then we want also the mineral resources to benefit the people of Uganda. And that's why we are coming out with these laws and all those registrations of small-scale miners so that they can participate in the bill. But the bottom line is that our mineral resources should benefit the country and the people of Uganda as well. Yes.
Kedi, your concluding remarks. Thank you, Mordecai. I think my concluding remark would be, just like I said before, that Ugandans should really put more focus on their primary growth sectors. Agriculture is important, oil and gas is important, minerals is equally very, very important. Many countries that have taken off have focused on their primary growth sectors. And for Uganda's case, we have enormous mineral potential. So we need to put a lot of our effort in developing this sector. And indeed, if we do that, you will see that Uganda will take off, and because the sector has that potential to spur economic transformation.
Thank you so much. Then I will, of course, get to you, Data. What will be your closing remarks?
Thanks for having me here.
It's my pleasure.
And I would like to mention that I stated that 80% of Uganda was covered under the World Bank funding. Now we have secured funding for the remaining 20%. That is the Karamoja region. And preparations are underway to bring in the contractor with the planes to fly. We urge all stakeholders to cooperate to make the exercise a success. What is more important about it is Karamoja region has very high potential for minerals. There are a variety of minerals in Karamoja. It's one of the regions which is mineral rich in Uganda. We believe that at the end of it, we shall outline more mineral potential from that region.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for paying a visit to the Political Command Center, that is NBS. We just cannot go beyond this. That is Vincent Kedi and Gabriel Data. Have I told you have a very special name, Data? It's an African name, right?
Yes,
but sounds like a white man's name, Data,
yes,
of what we use on phones.
That means settled.
Oh, settled. Yes. What's that language?
Lugbara.
Lugbal.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful name. I will probably give it to my children. Well, we just cannot go beyond this. I am Mordecai Mlisa, and that is it, the conversation about the mining sector in Uganda. And it needs all of us to get actively involved with following what is happening so that we can be able to see this development like we've seen, or we've been told that it is the primary driver of the industrialization of any country. So we need to get actively involved to see that we get to that level. Just like other countries that have really utilized their minerals. I am Mordecai Mlisa. This is the first half of the breakfast meeting. We are coming back shortly.